questions we need to answer. How can I divide fractions? How can I model fraction division? And when would I ever need to divide fractions? Let's begin with how to divide fractions with a model. There are 7 steps you need to know. Make sure you write these 7 steps in your notebook. Pause the video for a moment to make sure you have these 7 steps and you have a piece of paper ready to do a practice problem. On your paper, make sure you have this problem, 1/5 divided by 1/2. List that problem on your paper. Also, draw this number line on your paper. Leave a little room between the number line and the problem because we're going to be marking on the number line and writing above it and beneath it. Let's start with step 1. I'm going to use a red marker to indicate step 1. Step 1 says divide the line by the dividend. We have 1/5 divided by 1/2. 1/5 is our dividend. So we need to divide the line to show 1/5. Let's start by putting 0 on the line. We need to divide it by fifths. 1/5 will come first. So I'm going to mark that one in red. This is 1/5. But I need to show the whole. 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, 5/5 would be the whole. Let's label each of those parts. So now we are showing 5/5 or a whole number. And we are also showing our dividend, 1/5. So in reality, we do not have the whole piece of wood. Instead, we only have a small portion. We have this much. We have 1/5 of the wood left, not the whole piece. We now need to divide 1/5 by 1/2. So let's come back up here and notice what we've done so far. We have divided the line by the dividend. Step 2, I'm going to use blue. Step 2 says to divide each section by the divisor. So if I look back down here, my divisor is 1/2. It says to divide each section. So I'm going to divide each section in half. Make sure you are following along on your paper as well. So far, we have created a number line to show our dividend. Here is our dividend. This indicates how much of the whole we currently have. Then we have divided each section of the whole by our divisor. So we've divided each section in half. So we can check off step number 2. Step number 3 says to find an equivalent fraction for the divisor. Remember, 1/2 is your divisor. So to find an equivalent fraction for the divisor, first I list the divisor. Because it has to be equivalent, equivalent means equals. So it is equal to 1/2. And because it's an equivalent fraction, I know to go ahead and put a fraction bar. So I need a fraction that is equal or equivalent to my divisor, which is 1/2. My next step is to figure out what my denominator is. I can do that by seeing how many pieces are now in a whole. Well, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 pieces that create a whole. So I can replace my question mark with 10. That means that instead of being divided in half or in fifths, my line is now divided into tenths. And 10/10, of course, make a whole. So what I need to determine is, I'm still trying to find an equivalent fraction for my divisor. I need to know how many tenths are equal to 1/2. I can find this out by determining what I did to get from the 2 to the 10. 2 times 5 is 10. Whatever I do to the denominator, I also do to the numerator. 1 times 5 is 5. So my equivalent fraction for 1/2 is 5/10, which makes sense. 5/10 does indeed equal 1/2. So now I have found my equivalent fraction for the divisor. Let's review how I did that. I first rewrote my divisor, 1/2. Then I said equivalent means equal to, so I created equal to, and I knew it had to be a fraction that was equal to 1/2, so I created a fraction bar. I next needed to know what my denominator would be. I found that by counting how many total pieces I now have. I could have taken a shortcut and just multiplied my two denominators. Once I have found what my denominator is, I look to see what I did to get from this denominator to this denominator. I multiplied by 5, so I did that to my numerator as well to get my equivalent fraction. Step number 4 says put that amount in a group. So I know that I need to put 5/10 in a group. So I'm going to group these. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/10 in a group. I have now completed step number 4. Step number 5 says count the total groups. This will be your whole number. When I look, I see that I do not actually have one whole group because I only have 1/5. I needed this many to make a whole group, but I only have this much of that group. So I do not have a whole number for my answer. So my total whole groups actually are 0 for this problem. Count any leftover pieces, any pieces that I have that could go toward my whole group. So I needed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces to make a whole group. But out of that, I only had 2 pieces of wood remaining, 2/10 remaining. So I had those 2 pieces, and that's all I have for my project. So I now have my numerator. Step number 7, place the numerator over the total amount you needed to make a whole group, and that will be your denominator. I needed a total of 5 to make a whole group. So my denominator is 5, and that is my answer. I can now check my work. By doing the keep, change, flip shortcut. With the keep, change, flip shortcut, first I'm going to write my problem. I have 1/5 divided by 1/2. I'm going to keep the first fraction. I'm going to change the sign, and I'm going to flip my last fraction. Now I can simply multiply. 1 times 2 equals 2. 5 times 1 equals 5. 2/5 and 2/5. So I know that the answer on my model is correct. Okay, and now for the answer. First, I divide the line by my dividend, 2/4. Next, I divide by my divisor, 4/5. Next, I find an equivalent fraction for my divisor. My equivalent fraction is 16/20. I put 16/20ths in a group. I count how many total groups I have. I don't have one whole group because I had to stop here. So I only have a part of a group, a fraction of a group. I count how many pieces I have in this piece of a group. I have 10 out of 16. I have 10 pieces, but I needed 16 to make a whole. So I have 10 out of 16, and that is my answer unless I reduce. If I reduce, I have 5/8. On our next problem, I divide by my dividend, divide by my divisor. I divide each section into fourths. Next, I find an equivalent fraction for my divisor. My equivalent fraction is 9/12. So I need to put 9 in a group. I need to now count how many groups I have. I needed 9 in a group, but I only have 8. So I have 8 out of 9, making my answer 8/9. Three-fourths divided by 1/5. First, we divide our line according to the dividend. Next, we divide our line according to the divisor. Next, we get an equivalent fraction for our divisor. Next, we put that many in a group. I have not reached my ending point, so I can make another group. I still have not reached my ending point, so I can make yet another group. I have not yet reached my ending point, so I can make another group. I have gone past my ending point, so I can no longer make groups. Now I need to find out how many total groups I have. I have 1 total group, 2 total groups, 3 total groups. This last group is not complete because I do not have all 4 pieces. So the whole number in my answer is going to be 3 because I have 3 whole groups. Now I have a piece of this last group. I needed 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces to make another group, but I only have 1, 2, 3. So I have 3 pieces toward a group, and I needed 4 pieces to have a whole group. So I have 3 out of 4 pieces for another group. So my complete answer is 3 3/4.